7 lessons from 7 years of making games. That's right, it is 2025. I started my first game in late 2018, so it's been approximately 7 years, which is a pretty long time. I've learned a lot, and I will attempt to share those lessons with you. Though a lot of these lessons, or a lot of the lessons you can take from game design, are learned through game design. But let's start it off kind of simple. One thing that I've learned is don't show off. I feel like I'm showing off now, all the things I've learned. I'm showing off how I can't write. Don't show off all the mechanics, you know. That is one that I have learned through showing off all the mechanics I know. I have just, as time has gone by, I've learned that more is not better often. Often, I personally really like games that actually take a mechanic and show that one mechanic in an interesting light, through an interesting lens. I also like games with multiple mechanics that really interact with each other in interesting ways. But sometimes I have a feeling, and I'm not going to call any names out, there's some games that just read the list on BGG and they're like, yep, we've got this. We're going to put this in the game. And I get it, you play a lot of games, but I don't think all the mechanics need to be in your games. That's a lesson that I've learned for myself. But that's really easily leads me into the next point, which is, I say this pretty often, simple equals complex. I think the best complex games are made out of simplicity. They're made out of simple decisions. Often, your decision is A or B, and then once you choose A, C or D. The biggest games, or a lot of very heavy games, if you look at them, the decisions are actually very simple. And the actual mechanics are small, simple mechanics. There's just multiples of them. So if you're going for complex, I would choose to also go streamlined, also go simple. That is my number 2. Number 3 is the Big Clich. Let's use a different color. And it is something you've heard 1,000 times probably, especially if you are in a writing community. They say, kill your darlings. And I add to that in cold blood, because you don't want to have any regrets about it. Just do it, get rid of it. As a game designer, your main job is to make decisions. Into a single game, you have thousands of decisions that go into it. And the word decision means to cut, right? Incision, decision. It means to cut out. And the less cliche quote that I'll use is a Pablo Picasso quote, who says that to create, one must first destroy. And I believe that is true in game design. Just learning how to get rid of things, get rid of those mechanics that probably started off the idea. Very often, you'll end up cutting the very thing that started the game design process. And it is okay. It is going to be better for the game in the long term. And if it's not, you can go back. That is the lie you will tell yourself, because you never will go back. Number 4 is just about player psychology. Something I've learned is that if players can, players will play in boring ways. So your job as the designer is to find out what the interesting ways to play are and get players focused on them, or forbid the boring ways to play. I remember one time I was playing with a friend of mine, and she doesn't play many games, but she is very much a collector. She loves having a lot of things, and we were playing the game Splendor. And in Splendor, you've got these beautiful chips, or very nice, that feel very nice. They're heavy, and they've got gems on them. And she decided the way she's going to play Splendor, and if you haven't played Splendor, on your turn you either take chips, which are resources, or you use them to purchase cards. She decided the way that she's going to play Splendor is just taking and never purchasing cards, and that is when we learned that there's a rule in Splendor that you can't have more than 10 chips in front of you. And if there wasn't, she would have had a boring game, but she would have made the game even more boring for us by getting rid of the card market, by just stacking all of it, because that's the way she wanted to play. But if players can find a way to play in a boring way, they will. So your job as a designer, make them not do it. And I'd say make them not do it through incentivizing them to play in the most exciting way, rewarding it with points and dopamine. Which reminds me, exciting ways to play. Well, number 5 is start off playing. Do I mean have a tutorial? No. What I mean is that often in games you will, or in prototypes that I've tested, I've seen a lot of games where the first couple of turns players do the same thing. So you move, you get a resource, you buy a card, right? And it's the same for everybody, and everybody does that same thing. If I see that, I immediately think, start off with a resource, buy a card, you know? Start at the point where player decisions start to diverge, and you start getting different paths. You don't want players to have that lead up. If you have that lead up, put it in the setup. And number 6. Number 6 is one playtest can change your game. So sometimes I forget this. Sometimes I get in my head and I'm like, why is this not working? It's not working because I'm not playing it. And so many times I've had a game where it's like, oh, this isn't working. In fact, all the games I've ever worked on have had some time when they weren't working, when they weren't fun, when I had a little bit of anxiety of, oof, this playtest I'm pretty sure is not going to go well because there's issues in the game. One playtest can change that. Literally, I've had it almost every single game that I've worked on. There's that epiphany moment of, oh, what if we try this? Oh, what if we cut that out, start off playing, and add this in? That would be interesting. And then you just find the fun, and then after that, all the playtests are so much easier. Literally, it's one playtest, you're like, oh, that's the thing, that's the thing, that's the thing. And then you accent it, make it really polished and shiny, and your game gets a lot better. So, the last thing I've learned, actually, let's do a bonus. Let's do a bonus point before we get to number 7. Number 7 is very important, but also very important, and very much a cliche as well. Is have fun. Have fun. And I know that sounds like, oh, that's kind of silly, you know. I'm serious about fun. I make games for a living. Have fun. Making a game and having fun while doing it is going to make for a better game. It's going to make for a better experience. It's going to make for you wanting to make more games. And making the process fun is great. As a game designer, there's 2 different hobbies going on that you need to be involved in. One is the gaming hobby. The other is the game design hobby. As a game designer, you don't even need to be in the gaming hobby as much as most people think they should be, right? Because I find a lot of game designers will actually procrastinate, being like, oh, well, I'm getting better at game design by playing a lot of games. That's great. You should do that. It does help you to see, different solutions, different games. But I think a bigger part of what you should be doing is designing games. And if you have more fun, you're going to be designing more games, and you're going to be making better games because your brain is going to be, when you're in a fun state, when you're in a state of enjoying, time with the people around you and with the game, your brain works better. You will find more interesting things to put in your game. This is not something that you should just be like, oh, have fun, that's silly. Why would I be having fun? I'm playing games. That's my internal voice sometimes. But number 7 is very important. And I will say a little bit controversial because it is listen. As the game designer, you need to listen, and you need to listen to a lot of different ideas and make decisions that we talked about. But I do believe that at different points you need to be listening to different things. So, like for instance, I believe you should listen to your playtesters. I don't believe you should listen to your playtesters in the very first playtest of your game. Why is that? They have opinions. Yes, but in the first playtest of your game, you haven't fully taken the game out of your head and onto the table. And really what you should be listening to in that first playtest is your game, right? You're looking for a match between what you envisioned and what you have on the table. You're looking for cues that the game is giving you, like maybe this game doesn't work well with 3 or 4 players. I feel like I should be like testing it at 2, you know? Listen for what the game is telling you at first. Also, you should listen to your playtesters, your audience, listen to your clients because they're paying you big money. You know, if you're developing games for other people, those games, you know, they're putting, you know, I don't want to say numbers. I will say numbers. They're putting tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars into this game, and you should listen to them if you're helping them make a game. You know, if you want to work with me, I will be listening to you. I will be listening to what your vision of the game is. And I'll do my best to help you. You know, if we've already agreed that I will be helping you, which I don't agree with everybody who asks, but if I find that it's a good fit, and my role is to be the developer of the game and help the game develop, I'm also helping it develop in the way that you envisioned it. So listen to your clients because they're putting a lot in the game, and finally, listen to yourself, because introspection, I think, is a big part of game design. Like knowing about yourself, bringing yourself to the game, in game design, you can absolutely take from different aspects of your life. Especially if you're in video games, right? Because in video games, you have the cinematic, you have the music, you have everything, you know, every part of life. It's such a big medium, you know. But also in board games, you know, if you've been, like I studied music. I went to the conservatory and I studied classical music, and I've played in a lot of bands, and I feel like I've taken a lot of that into game design, like the way you practice, the getting into a state of flow, having rhythm in your game and pacing. And I'm sure you have a lot of life experience as well. And all of that life experience can go into your game. And it should. And you should put yourself in your game. And you get that by listening to yourself. So, yeah, this is my advice from 7 years of making games. Pretty soon I plan on making a video which is more about the actual process of making games, because this is kind of broad and more about, you know, mental state and all that, but that goes into games. So, thank you for watching. If you have a game that you're working on and you would like help, maybe you're not having as much fun as you want to be having while playing it, I reach out. I've left links in the description, and I'd be happy to take a look. I don't promise that I'll take on the project. I want it to be a win-win situation where I can actually make the game a lot better. I can make it fit your vision as much as possible. And also, you know, are also serious about the game. By which I mean you're going to pay me a ton of money. But yeah, reach out. I don't take on all games for development, but I do playtest all games, and I do talk to all designers that reach out. So reach out if you're a designer, if you're a publisher, if you have a game that you're looking for fresh eyes on, and fresh, experienced eyes that have 7 years behind them. But yeah, thank you for watching. See you next time.